Hi, I'm Dr. Rebecca Edwards, and welcome to my podcast, The Tea on Teeth, where we'll have real conversations about oral health and how it affects the human body. In this first episode, I'm going to give you the tea on how I got here and where I came from and who I am, so you can know a little bit more about me.
Thank you for joining us today. In today's podcast, I'm going to talk about introducing myself, give you a little bit of backstory on who I am, where I came from, a little bit of personal information maybe, and then where we're going with this podcast or with my dental practice. So I thank you so much for being here, and I hope that this brings truth and restores you as well as this journey has restored me and my faith. We want to give this a faith-centered type podcast, along with learning about dental wellness and how it affects our health. So let's pray first, and then we'll get started. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving me this practice and all the knowledge that you have given to me, and the patience and the family and all the beautiful things that you have given us. And I hope that I can just give truth and give knowledge that where people will not perish, but they'll find restoration and healing. All this in your Son's precious name, Jesus. Amen. Okay, let's get started. So today on this first podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about me and where I came from. I might have a few tears, but that's okay. We all need to experience vulnerability, and crying and is good for the heart and the soul, and gives a little bit of humility. So I started out wanting to be a dentist as a child, and I had many dental experiences as a child. I had tooth decay as a child. I had this little bitty partial, and we'll probably put a picture of it in here, but I started out with that. I had no little teeth. I got those taken out probably around 2 or 3 years old. And I know that's such a trauma because I see moms coming in that had the same issues, and I was there. It was me. Then we progressed. And of course, as I got older, around the age of 6, I always wanted to play house or doctor or dentist, but dentist was the one I really liked playing. I would get my grandfather or someone in a reclining chair and then pretend like I had instruments and look in their mouth and everything, because I had been through so much dental work. And I had a great pediatric dentist, and he had a little cuckoo clock, and he had a potty that was like really short. I love that. And like a little sink that was little, my size, and he gave the best prizes, and he had a fish tank that had the most beautiful fish. So I had a really good dental experience as a kid, even though I remember getting injections and the laughing gas and all that. I had a pretty good experience. So there was no trauma there for me. And then things got older, and then I went to the orthodontist, and I got braces, and I went through all of that just like anybody else. And then I had this beautiful smile, but one day we were out boating, and we came a little bit too close to the shore. So what was happening is that we were coming into the shore to see if my mom, this was in Hot Springs and Lake DeGray or Lake Catherine, one of those. Anyway, we were coming into the shore, see if mom and my aunt had us a picnic table set up, and we were ready for lunch after we were been inner tubing. So me and my cousin and my dad was driving the boat. I can't remember who else was in there, but it was mainly my dad. And we were tethered on the back with a inner tube. So we came around, he went, and yeah, mom's ready. So we were going to go back to the boat ramp, get the boat, and come back. And he didn't realize how close he had gone to the shore, but also how long our rope was. So we came in and went on our pulled up around there, and we sailed up on the shore that was full of rocks. My cousin didn't get any damage. She kind of did a hurled and did a sprained herself and did a flip and landed on her bum. And then I rode it out, saw that there was in the bottom of and looked up, and then we were on the beach or the shoreline with all the rocks, and I lost all my front teeth at that time. And it happened so quick. My mom saw the whole thing. My dad just went in tears. And blood was coming up. Teeth were, I don't know where they are. They're probably still on there. Somebody probably found them at one time being around that shore. And I was stunned. I was in shock. We took the lake water because that was the only thing out, and my mom threw it in my face. So I had a lot of bacteria. And she said, "Oh my gosh, they're gone. We've got to go to the hospital." And somebody there took me to the hospital. The whole time I was there, I remember just saying the 23rd Psalm the whole time to me. Like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's kind of my verse. I'll say that to myself a lot. So anyway, give me a minute. Okay, there we go. So anyway, we get to the hospital. At the time, I happened to be dating a guy whose dad was a dentist. So I was like, no problem. Dr. Haynes has got this. This will be no problem. So they took me to the local hospital. We called him. He's like, "Oh, we're going to need," because I had a big, huge gash through my lip, no teeth. He's like, "Meet me in Hot Springs." We lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas at the time. And this was in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. So we got taken to the other hospital. And I just remember he got the surgeon there. They were all there waiting for me. And anyway, that started a big journey of restoration. So I sealed the fate. God was wondering if I was wondering which way I would turn. And yes, dentistry was going to be my calling, to where I could do ministry and help people. So that was my senior year of high school. So I finished my senior year. Yes, I went without teeth for a while because I had the plastic surgeon wouldn't allow the dentist in my mouth just because it would stretch my lips and make a bigger scar. So then we went to, so that was a series of humbling experiences, and we finally got a smile restored. We went through, partials. I had a titanium implant placed. It was a lot, but I appreciated it at the time because I was like, God's making this for something bigger, and He's going to give me this story that I can use later in my career, because I knew I wanted to be a dentist then. So then I'll go to Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, Arkansas, to get my prerequisites for dental school. Then I went to the University of Tennessee at Memphis for my dental education. That was so finally in the year 1996. I graduated from dental school and had a traditional, of course, training in dentistry. Bought my practice, was practicing all the things traditional up until a few years ago. That was 2022 when I completely went to biodentistry. But in that course of time, people's like, how did you get to be a biological dentist? Or when were your eyes opened? What was going on? So during those practice years in Arkansas, I had a few patients come in, and I consider them now, looking back, that they were a lot of seeds planted by different people, beautiful people. But at the time, I was like, no, not so much. So there was one patient, I remember her, and she didn't want any fluoride. She didn't want anything to do with the water that was in the office. She asked, like, where does it come from? And I have my own bottle of water and I'll spit in there and don't give me any fluoride. Really adamant about the fluoride. And I was like, well, okay, I thought she was crazy, weird, and I'm like, oh gosh, but she does have autonomy, and I wanted to give her what she desired. So I took that. I was like, okay, if that's what you want, then we'll accommodate you. I didn't want to belittle her. I don't think I did, but um, I probably did say things in the other places that I don't think that was appropriate, just like, oh, crazy patient. But I honor her now, and I ask God to bless her. Then there was another patient. They were a set of sisters, and they brought to me this these greens, and it was some multi-level marketing, but it was a greens, and they did plexus, they did organo gold mushroom blend. So I got to learn a little bit through these multi-level marketing that were brought in. I can just see them both right now, and they had all these problems in dental work, but they wanted a natural. And so they were probably stand out to me the most that brought me into this. Proceeding on, I know I'm drawing this out for you guys, but just stay with me. Okay, so then next, what happened was that I started picking up books and listening to things on, I think, public broadcasting. So at that time, there was a Jillian Keith, I think that was her name, and her TV show was You Are What You Eat. And then she had some few people, and then I'll throw out a name that David Avocado Wolf. He's on Instagram. Follow him. You'll probably see a lot of my reposts and stuff like that. But he was instrumental and resonated with me. And I read his books and saw he had a Netflix or something like that documentary. Then there was Forks Over Knives. That was a good documentary. All of those start really rolling in fast. And I still had this practice, and I was practicing still traditional, but I knew there was something more. Then I got on a magnesium kick, and everybody knew that I would talk about magnesium. Oh, it's a magnesium deficiency. And yeah, it really was. Then, let's see, I practiced, and I had children at this time, and I didn't have a lot to go and study, but I had also taken some orthodontic courses that were like very anti-extracting teeth, removing teeth, and restoring the jaw into a more harmonious position. Those classes led me to what I know now as airway, but they were bringing me, I wasn't there all the way, and they were bringing me to that. I met some great people, one in particular doctor or dentist that was in that ortho, the International Association of Orthodontists. He was from Vancouver, and he was Chinese, and he would talk to me about traditional Chinese medicine and how greens and things like that were good for you. And this was probably back in, oh goodness, probably 2002, 2003, so that era. And then there was a wonderful dentist from Little Rock, Arkansas, Sam Beavers. God put him in there, and he gave me a little bit of information on, well, I just take people and with their TMJ and their inflammation, I take them off everything and I start them out, and all they have is carrot juice. And then it was an elimination diet, and it's for inflammation. It was just little things that we didn't know. And I wish I would have spent more time with him. So if there's somebody that you're drawn to, that's a prompting by the Holy Spirit. He puts somebody in your life. Go to them, learn, sit down, have lunch or dinner with them, even a cup of coffee or tea, because you might learn so much from these people. And Sam ended up passing away, and oh, goodness, I wish could talk to him now. I think we would really get along. So he was another one. Then I sold my practice in Arkansas because I was very down, burnt out. I knew there was something more. I felt like I was not doing well for my patients. And I knew that I would give them treatment plans that were thousands of dollars. And I knew that I would do all the work that they have, root canals, crowns, all of it, you name it. I would restore them. And then some of them would come in still bad and worse and with a heart attack. And then I'm like, they had periodontal disease. And I saw it escalate, even though no matter what I was doing and they were following treatment, that they got worse. I'm like, what else could I be doing to help my patients? This is a money pit, and I'm taking their money and I'm not making them well. I'm not fulfilled. And I was really down and out in my practice, and I thought, well, maybe this just isn't for me. So I sold that practice in Arkansas, and I'm like, I've got to have a new beginning. Maybe I'll just work for somebody else, drill, fill, and bill, let them take care of all my problems that I don't have, because I don't like business, and I don't like human resource department or the marketing department or the advertising. I didn't like any of that. I just wanted to do my work and go home. So my friend from dental school has a place, and I moved to Oxford, Mississippi, and I'm like, perfect. I'll go there, work for him, and I'll be set until ready for retirement. And I'll get my paycheck. I'll go 8 to 5 and go home. Well, that was working really great. It was with children mainly, and I didn't expect that, but I enjoyed the children so much. But it was still traditional dentistry. And I'm like, and I was working with the orthodontist, and I was looking like something's still not adding up. So then COVID hit. And then, like a lot of people, everything, God just flooded me with information. And I used that time to start digging and learning. And I found the IAOMT and mercury removal. And that was what did it for me. It was like, yes, these are the answers to questions that I had. Like, how much of the tooth is fluoride? It's not very much, y'all. Why would we be given an organ, which that's what a tooth is, it's an organ in a jaw. Why would we be giving that and just slapping stuff on there when that's not probably what it is? Why don't we give it what it is and what the major components are? And let's dig a little deeper. So they had all those answers for me. And then I'm, as a kid, playing with mercury. You don't do that, by the way. I would broken thermometer. So let's go back to children. And I broke a thermometer, and it was like a little baby. And my mom's like, don't touch that. That's very poisonous. And even in chemistry class in junior high, we broke a thermometer. It was a whole ordeal. You can go to the EPA's website and OSHA training. And if you break a thermometer, what you have to do into the room that the thermometer was broken. Okay, that size of mercury that's in that thermometer is smaller than the size of mercury that's being put in those filling material. So what is a mercury silver filling or an amalgam filling? Or it's just a ball of mercury in a little capsule. And I'll show you this. I'll demonstrate it maybe on this podcast. We'll edit that in. And you mix it together in this little thing called a triturator, and it goes wiggle really fast. And then it mixes together, and you get this blob of wet looking goo. And you want to use that wet looking goo and put it in the tooth, mold it before it gets too hard, because then it starts to harden. And then you scrape it and mold it and do all these things with it. And then in dental school, they wanted us to polish it and make it real shiny. Eek. So that didn't make sense to me, to be putting something so poisonous that it clears a room and then putting in, and in the mouth, it's inert and it doesn't cause any problems. That doesn't make any sense. let's think, guys. Let's think about things. So when I discovered the IAOMT and went through the training for the SMART protocol to remove mercury safely, that made the most sense. And I felt like, oh goodness, I was in dental school and I breathed a lot of this. Thank goodness. Um, the Lord was there protecting me and he was bringing me, and I'm not going there's no fear, but it just makes you think what is going on with the system. So then then I'm still practicing in traditional, and I'll go into my little corporate and I'm like, well, we're not giving out fluoride anymore on these kids. We're not slapping that on there. Well, it wasn't my practice to call. So I couldn't really do that, but I would turn my head, and I felt so hypocritical. I'm like, I don't even want this in my mouth or my children's mouth why would I want to be giving it to all these kids? Because it was mainly a kid pediatric dental office, and it was because the insurance gave a lot of money to the practice because we put fluoride on there. And that's a whole nother topic, and we can do that some other podcast. But anyway, let's proceed. So then going into that, excuse me, I saw this little place on University Avenue in Oxford, Mississippi, and it was a dental office, and I had actually worked in there and subbed in as a dentist. I'm like, this place is kind of cute. I didn't realize how it was when I subbed in. I'm like, okay. And then I didn't think anything about it. And then I drove by it. It was for rent. And I've been wanting to get away from that little practice. There was some other things that was being mismanaged. But anyway, so I'm looking for another place to go practice. I'm like, well, who can I work for? I was going to go work in another traditional corporate practice. And I'm like, I don't think that's for me. And then I'm like, then I had another practice that I would go in and just one day a week do confession time root canals and wisdom teeth extractions. Okay, so you're going to learn that I don't do either one of those anymore. Now I'm trying to repair people or prevent people from getting either one of those. But God, He always has a plan. So I drove by that practice, and it was for rent. And I asked a friend of mine that's a real estate agent. I was like, "Hey, can you see about that practice?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, it's for rent." And I'm like, "Oh, could I afford that?" What am I thinking? I am 50 years old, and I would be started. I don't want to start another practice. I had a bad experience. I didn't want to do that. For 23 years, I owned a practice, and that was the biggest headache of my life. Lord, what are you doing? He kept on, just trust me. I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't have any. I'm just starting from zero. You think I can make it in a town where I know no one and I'm just zero? He goes, yeah, you can do this. So I call up my old dental rep and I'm like, hey, Mike, I'm thinking about opening up a practice and it's going to be a holistic dental practice. He's like, I think that's fabulous. And he was such a believer as well. And he would, he encouraged me so much. And he was like, yes, you can do it. So my little friend, real estate agent, and him encouraged me so much. My husband was like, oh my gosh, are you really going to do this? You're crazy. I'm like, no, dear, I can't go back. I know all these things and I know this is where I need to be. I can't go back practicing like I was. I would be a hypocrite and I can't do that anymore. My heart won't allow me to do that. But this sounds like a new adventure and I'm so pumped. I want to do this. And I think I can do it. And I had some assistants and a hygienist, and God had put so many good people and they're still with me that I met. Oh, he's so good. God is so good. And anyway, I got 3 free dental chairs. Mike goes, "I got these chairs. Would you use them?" And I'm like, "Mike, that takes away at least those are $10,000 to $20,000 for each chair for each room." I'm like, so that would be $30,000 to $60,000 that I didn't have to spend, that I could spend on because I knew I needed a CBCT. So that's the cone beam X-ray that is standard of care for biological dentists that we have to have. So I got to spend that, and that was $100,000. So when you're looking at it, equipment costs are absolutely insane, and not having anything in that practice. There was 2 little dental units that they left, and I'm like, okay, I like these. These will work. I can do that. So God was providing so much. And then I went to Mike had got it all, the financing and everything. And I got to get all of the equipment that was necessary, the furniture. I got to even upgrade the practice. It's a little old building, and I needed to clean it out and get the new tiles and new flooring because of a lot of mercury had been in there. So I wanted to make sure it was as clean and healthy as possible. So I had to do a lot of preliminary work. And at the same time, I was working at these other practices, and God just opened the doors. And I didn't start all in just there. I would still work at the other places as I was learning and getting confident in myself. At first, I didn't think, I'm like, oh, I can do a root canal a biological way. I can do it healthier. I'll use ozone and hypochlorous, and I've got my laser. I'll do that. And as I was studied and learned more, like, no, this is not going to work. There's these root canals, they're only temporary. They don't last long. And some people don't even need that load on their system because of inflammation. So anyway, I kind of got kicked out. God, once I started working and I started getting more patients, and people were coming to me. And I was going back and forth between 3 different places before I could be full-time at Grove. Then he pushed me out. It was time. God was like, "It's time, girl. You've got to dedicate yourself. You are smart. You've got all the knowledge. You need to start all by yourself. I'll supply you. I'll take care of you. Just trust me." So I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I kept on, and he then finally shoved me out of one place and shoved me out of the other. And it was like, okay, I'm going to see you provide. And he has. And I'm so blessed with Grove Dental and biological dentistry. A biodentist does a lot of things differently. So are holistic. You might hear a lot of names being called, but holistic dentistry or biological dentistry, you might even hear integrative or functional, all of those things just being different from traditional. Every practice isn't the same, though, with the biological dentist. So I wanted my practice. God had given me a huge gift throughout the way when I was learning to do dental removal and surgery. I went to some missions of mercy that were in Arkansas. And we as dentists would go in and do extractions or whatever we needed for free one weekend out of the year. And I really enjoyed that. And I would get into the surgical department, and there was a wonderful oral surgeon who encouraged me. And I had very little equipment because we're in like a stadium or a convention center, and all these little places are lined up, and people are coming in to get a tooth taken out or something like that free. So I went to there's like 20 dentists doing extractions, and we would or pulling teeth, and then we would And then there was a surgeon that was the head of us, and he was awesome. And he's like, as the years grew by, he had more faith in me, and he was like, you just come and get me. I know you can do everything. If you come into trouble, I'll come and show you how to do it. I want you to get better, so I don't want to do as much for you, but I want you to be able to do it. I'm like, okay, fine. And I loved that. And so I would have something would come up, and I would go get him, and he would show me, now this is what you need to do. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and then you can do it. So I really learned a lot of oral surgery from him, and it was mostly through difficult tooth removals and impacted wisdom teeth that were completely impacted. So I got to learn from him. And then, so that prepared me. That was another thing that God had given to prepare me for what I'm doing now with cavitation removal, root canal removals. So I'm going to go into each one of those in podcasts that it will talk about. Let's talk about the mercury. Then we'll talk about fluoride. Then we're going to talk about root canals, cavitations, overall health and wellness, because all this doesn't matter if the body and the mind are there. So we as biological dentists, holistic, we're going to look at the mind-body experience and how the oral health affects each one of those things. So we're working with in your airway and your sleep. So throughout the podcast, each week or each month, whichever we decide to do, because I want to do more for you guys and teach. We'll have interviews with different people, patients, my staff. We'll talk about airway health, children's health, pediatric dentistry. We'll talk about root canals and why they're not so good, and sometimes they're necessary to take you out of pain, but knowing that the end result will be a tooth loss. And then we'll go into what are cavitations? What is that? What is NICO? It's another name for it. It's neuralgia-induced bone inflammation. So it's actually an inflammation in your bones. So the only bone in your body that has another organ in it are your jaws. And then we'll look at how all of those things affect your health. And then we'll talk about nutrition. And we'll talk about faith, because peace is the first pillar of health. You have to have that peace. If you have that, then you have everything. And Jesus is the only one who brings true healing. So we'll go into that. I want to bring my faith into that, and that we can just have conversations that will restore your smile and deliver truth. And that's what we're here for. So thank you so much for hearing my story. And I am so blessed and humbled by this whole experience of life that God has given me. And I hope you will, through this podcast, will learn things and be able to tell your friends and to enjoy life and live it more abundantly. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you. Until next time.